Hi, I'm Peter Rowlett.
And I'm Katie Steckles. And Peter, what is today's mathematical object?
Well, today I have brought a dodecahedron.
Right.
And a particular dodecahedron I'm going to hold up at the camera.
So it's one of those funky ones that you sometimes see in, like, museums or history or the past.
Yeah.
It's got like a little ball on the end of each vertex and the faces have all got holes in. Is that a good description? It's also made of, like, I want to say bronze or some kind of metal.
Well, this is made of 3D printed plastic.
All right. But I can imagine it's made of bronze, right?
Yeah. And it's been coloured in this way that I guess is deliberate to make it look... Anyway, I don't really know why it's coloured the way it is. We'll get on to that. So they're Roman.
Right.
So we sort of know the Romans. I was wondering how much of a history of Rome to go through. You know the Battle of Troy with the Greeks and the wooden horse and all that?
Yeah.
And there's a guy on the Trojan side called Aeneas.
Right.
And he flees the battle and is guided by the gods and sort of wanders around the Mediterranean and eventually gets brought to Italy, where he meets the Latin people and settles. And then one of his descendants is Romulus.
Right.
Who's nursed by a wolf.
Yes, that one.
And founds Rome.
Yeah.
And all that stuff definitely happens.
Yeah.
And they decide to live in land previously ruled by Saturn, father of Jupiter, king of the gods. All this stuff, definitely.
Yeah.
That's how history goes. You get into... There's this line between history and myth, which is very hard to work out. But basically, they're these people in the middle of Italy. They conquer the rest of Italy. They conquer the Mediterranean. They're a kingdom. They become a republic. They push north. There's a very interesting source of tin off the north coast of Gaul.
Right.
And they find this island called Britain. And then Julius Caesar says, I came, I saw, I conquered. And he didn't.
Which ones did he not do?
Well, he came and he saw, he fought some people and took some tribute and then went away again.
Yeah.
And then they made the republic into an empire. The empire came back and decided to colonize Great Britain and settled up at Hadrian's Wall. And then decided not to go any further, let's say.
Yeah. Reasonable decision.
They went a bit further, they came back again, didn't like it, nothing to do with the, obviously the mighty Roman Empire can go wherever they want. But,
It's just it's too chilly up there. It's not, it's a bit too rugged.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then to skip a little bit of the story, then my son and I went on holiday there last summer.
Right.
Right. And while we were there, we went to Corbridge, which was a town just behind the wall. And we saw at Corbridge, they have one of these dodecahedra.
Yep.
And I was like, cool. It's one of those dodecahedra that I have heard of. And yeah, they are often copper alloy, sort of bronze thing. They have 12 pentagonal faces, proper like you'd expect from a dodecahedron, regular pentagons.
Yeah.
They have these small knobs on the corners.
Yeah, it's like a little spherical, yeah.
Yeah.
If you can imagine both me and Peter squinting at it, trying to work out.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like almost like a decoration, but potentially with some kind of purpose.
Yeah. And then each side has a hole in it, a circular hole, but they're all different sizes.
Are they all actually distinct sizes?
That's a good question. I don't know if they're completely 12 different ones. I don't know how accurate my 3D printed one is here. There are 4 or 5 that all look very similar, and then a bigger one and a smaller one and a medium one. And I don't know. And they've discovered over 100 of these, mostly in sort of northwest Europe, in Gaul and surrounding areas. And they've discovered 33 of them in Britain, in Roman Britain. And I think probably the reason this was in my head, although I wasn't massively conscious of it before I saw the one at Hadrian's Wall, is that in 2023 there was quite a well-publicised one discovered in a place called Norton Disney.
Right.
Norton Disney's in Lincolnshire. It's sort of on the border between Lincolnshire and Nottinghamshire.
It sounds like a combination theme park service station. Like, it's incredible. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's one of these places that, because Norton means north settlement or northern town or whatever. Nor for north and ton for settlement. And there are a lot of places like that where when you're Anglo-Saxon farmers who don't go anywhere, that's absolutely fine. It's the northern place. Let's go there.
Yeah.
But when you venture out into the rest of the country and find out that there are a lot of Nortons, then they start putting often the name of the landowner after the name. There's quite a lot of villages in England are like this, where they've got a sort of double-barreled name. So it's Norton Disney because the lords of the manor after the Norman conquest are the Disney family. Disney seems to be that gets eventually translated into Disney, and it is the Disney of Walt Disney.
Right. Wow.
Like actually, that's his family has descended from
heritage.
Them. I think there's a whole like, provided you believe 1,000 years of history has gone how you think it has, but there's sort of. Yeah, they're pretty sure. One thing that's quite entertaining is there's a charter of 1386 that names their estate as Disneyland.
Wonderful. Excellent.
Like the original Disneyland.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that I learned is Walt Disney visited in 1949, and there's this 3-lion Disney family crest that you get on there's like a Sir somebody Disney in the church. He's got this crest on his shield and all this. And when they needed it at Disneyland in 1965, they wanted a crest to put on Sleeping Beauty's castle, and he used that. He used the Disney family crest.
Yeah.
And if you see a Disney film, the films since 2006 have the opening with the castle with the fireworks, and it starts by zooming past a flag, and the flag has the crest on it.
Yeah, nice.
So it's the Norton Disney family crest. Yeah.
Right.
I thought that was quite nice. Anyway, there's a Roman villa there they discovered in 1933, and they keep digging around it, and they've got no money, but they keep doing bits and pieces when they can. And in 2023, they found a dodecahedron.
Just imagine that. Imagine just being like, we're looking for, maybe some bits of pottery, maybe some skeletons, like, we've just found a metal dodecahedron with knobs on. Like, all right, cool, chuck it on the pile. Like, what a bizarre thing to find.
And it's important, I think, I've read, because it's one of the largest that they found in Britain. So it's 8 centimetres across and weighs 245 grams. Apparently it's very well preserved as these things go. And also that it was found in situ. A lot of the times they're not quite sure where somebody dug this thing up in 18 whatever. There's a lot like that where they're not quite sure. They want to know where things are so that they can tell more about what they were used for. And this is the question really, is what is this thing used for? And we kind of don't know. But the dig in 2023, it was the penultimate day of the dig that they found this thing.
Oh, wow.
And they've got no money left, so they just had to bury the trench. And I understand that investigations are ongoing and that they're supposed to be digging it back up and trying to work out where was this thing situated. So it's very interesting because, like, what do you think it might be for? I suppose is the question.
Yeah. I mean, it's a decoration or an ornament. I mean, certainly if you go in homeware shops nowadays, they'll quite happily sell you a dodecahedron as a sort of house decor object. But like, it feels like the fact that it's got the holes in each face and the holes are different sizes somehow feels like it must have a use. Yeah. And I'm guessing that people have been speculating wildly about what this might be for. Like,
oh yes. Yeah. So I've read that there are over 50 theories in academic literature.
Excellent. Have you picked out the best one, the stupidest one, and the most realistic one? Or?
I haven't read all 50.
Right.
There are a lot of people who will tell you completely without a shadow of a doubt that it's for knitting.
Right.
The English Heritage page about the Corbridge one says that this is a very popular theory, and the idea being that different holes would be for different fingers somehow, different size holes.
Right.
But knitters have pointed out this isn't the easiest way or quickest way to knit gloves.
Yeah, like there are. Oh wow! Like, so because it's five blobs on each face, so there's somehow 5 fingers of a glove. I don't know.
I don't know.
But like there are. Like, you can get knitting, they're sometimes called knitting dollies, but it's just like a piece of wood with a hole through the middle, and on the top there are a number of hooks, and it could be 4 or 5 or more, and you essentially kind of knit round that, but you can do it by hand or with a crochet hook or something, and you just kind of lift the thread over the hook each time and then keep going round, and you wrap the thread round and knit it round again. Right.
Is that spool knitting?
I don't know.
Because one of the things I've read is that what is being described is like spool knitting, but spool knitting doesn't otherwise appear until 1535.
Yeah.
And also that wouldn't explain why it needs to be bronze.
Yeah.
Because it's very expensive making the thing out of bronze. And like if it's just a knitting aid, why wouldn't it just be carved out of wood or something?
Yeah, well, for me, I associate that with the kind of knitting that you do when you're 6 and someone gives you a knitting dolly. Right. And you just, sit there and, turn the handle on the process and just produce. And it produces like knitted string, like a very thin tube, I guess, of knitting. And I guess with a slightly bigger one, you could knit a finger for a glove, maybe, and you'd need to kind of stitch everything in together. But yeah. I don't know if that's something that will have existed. Like, I know, like, you see Victorian children playing with it in period dramas, but I don't know if it goes back as far as that.
Yeah.
There's a big gap there, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So then other theories are, well, I mean, one thing is it doesn't appear in any written sources. And so that is a sort of invitation to think about, like, what objects do we have that are so commonplace that you just wouldn't bother writing them down? It's just sort of.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? No one's made like a how to use this manual or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Now, of course, these days we write a lot more. It's much easier to write stuff than it was in those days, if you like. But, there are things that kind of every home has, but probably nobody bothers mentioning. It's just sort of, I don't know.
I mean, this is so great. Like, people are just like, oh yeah, that's just the dodecahedron, don't worry about it. It just lives on that shelf.
Absolutely. But I'm thinking of, like, we've got one of them sticks that you put your kitchen roll on, but are you going to write that down in great literature or whatever? It's just not going to happen. So what are the kind of things that you have that are just like I
mean, I also wonder, because I guess this is a thing they never know about in archaeology, is if it had like another component to it that was entirely made out of fabric or thread or something.
Yes.
That like it always had string tied around it in a particular way for some reason that you would never know, because that wouldn't survive.
The English Heritage also talk about some of the theories. It's a device for finding the date to sow grain. I'm not quite sure how that works. Light through a certain hole or something. It's a candle holder. It's a head of a scepter or of a weapon or something like that. That it's a die that you roll it. It's a range finder, a survey instrument, a children's toy, all sorts of. But people are just guessing, right? Wikipedia says that several of them were found in coin hoards, which suggests that they're valuable or that they're connected with coins. And one idea is because there are all these different size holes, maybe different coins fit in the holes, so you can check that the coin hasn't had anything clipped off the edge of it.
Yeah.
Quite like that. One I really quite like, because a big thing with a lot of these things is that they're not a standard size. So they've got 130. I shove them, and they're all sorts of sizes, and that they don't have any sign of wear. So if they're a standard size, they might be a measuring device, and if they were nicked and worn, they would be a tool. But they're obviously not the top of a club that you go hitting people with, because they aren't damaged.
Yeah, and it's also really intriguing that if it is something that's just kind of a decorative flourish on something, like on a scepter or whatever, that they're all the same.
Yeah.
From like different parts of the different countries, that you get the exact same format of objects.
Yeah.
Like, how is that? Unless there was like one person who made like all of these, they made 200 of them and then just travelled around the whole of the Roman Empire just going, who wants one of these? I haven't got a name for it yet. But maybe I can take some Greek words and mash them together and come up with a name for it. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
One theory I quite liked is, like, it's really hard to make because it's hollow bronze and it's got all these holes that are different sizes, and then it's got these knobs on the vertices, and you've got to make the pentagons very, it's a really precision object. So there is a theory that maybe it's like your portfolio as a metalsmith. You sort of say, behold my skill. Here's my standard object that we all use to test our skills on or whatever.
Yeah.
Or that it's like for apprentices to show that they've learned what they're supposed to have learned or something like that. But I quite like the idea that it's in with your coins, because it's like you rock up somewhere, you show them your dodecahedron, they hire you to do a job, and
Yeah, I mean, I remember, because I don't know if anyone knows this, but me and Peter used to both work in Sheffield. This is why they started doing this podcast, but we went one time to the museum in Sheffield, because Sheffield is a steel town. And one of the things they had in the display cabinets was like items that steel workers had made, or silversmiths had made to show off how good they were, and they were just like a really nice, like tiny model of a thing or whatever that no one would ever have any actual use for. Really great for confusing future archaeologists, I imagine.
Yes.
They find this like tiny metal teapot or something. They're like, what?
Yeah.
What was this for?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess you never know what the intention of something was. And there's things like that are sort of quite edge cases that would produce something with absolutely no kind of usable features, but that exists for a reason.
Yeah. And they're mostly bronze, and they're mostly in and around sort of France, Germany, England, things like this. There is one silver one they found in Geneva.
Ooh. Is that like the measurement one that they keep in the vault in Geneva?
The reference dodecahedron, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they found an icosahedron, which has the knobs on the vertices, but not the holes. Yeah. And you're going to be massively surprised by this. For a long time, it was misclassified as a dodecahedron.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. What are the chances?
Yes.
It's a geometric sphere. Yeah.
Yes, it's the sort of everything's a hexagon kind of territory, isn't it? It's sort of, yeah. Oh, it must be a dodecahedron. Shall we count the sides? Nah, it's fine. It's a dodecahedron. And then they found smaller ones with the same features, with the holes and the knobs, made from gold in Southeast Asia on the Silk Road and so forth. So there's definitely, there's some, and some of those are later, or a lot of those are later, I think. But there's definitely something going on. So yeah, the BBC website has all these commenters, and they ask them what they thought, and so somebody says it's probably a game dice, and the different size holes represent different numbers somehow, which is interesting. Ooh. But the Romans do have dice, right? They make dice.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, like it's like knuckle bones and stuff, right? The really old dice are just like
That's right. So but also just carved into cubes. So there's this game. Tally, I never know if I'm pronouncing anything right, which is supposed to be an ancient Roman dice game with some bluffing in it. It says similar to poker, the thing that I read, but I don't know how similar something has to be before you just call it that. Yeah,
there's a million types of poker as well, right?
But there's this whole early history of games that is fascinating to me. But based on sheep knuckle bones, so they had 4 sides, the tally dice,
right?
Because the knucklebone has 4 sides. And they were numbered 1, 3, 4, and 6. And they were set out so that opposite faces would add to 7. You sort of classic. Yeah. And then later on, they're making cubes. They're adding in the other 2 and 5 to complete the set. But, at the start, it's these 4-sided ones. So I was looking at, like, different games. They have a bunch of games that are sort of like, well, they have early forms of backgammon that there seems to be quite a few games, like chess was, I think, that kind of get imported from, the East, from Persia or, wherever, into Greece and Rome. And there's this early form of backgammon that's like that. Although it's sort of, it's ludus is its first word, which means game, basically. And then it's duodecim.
Right.
So duo for 2 and deci for 10. So that's 12, duodecim. And then scriptorum, which kind of means writing, but it's kind of a game board with 12 lines on it. So it's sort of called the game of 12 lines. But there might be some wordplay involved because some of them have like words written on the lines.
Right.
So, 36 letters arranged in a grid and things like this. So, of course, we have no idea really how these things were played. They were definitely betting. There's a whole thing about whether dice games and betting and things like this is illegal or not, and it seems to depend at which time you're talking.
Right.
Suetonius, who's one of the historians, says that the Emperor Claudius enjoyed dice and wrote a book about the art of dice.
Wow.
which we don't have. We don't have loads of things from ancient times. But, the book is lost. We just don't know. But apparently he had a board fixed to his chariot for playing, some of these games.
Wow.
So he could play it on the move.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, you get this sort of gambling thing. There's a painting in Pompeii, which was the place where everything's well preserved because it was, sunk under a volcano, basically. And there's a painting in Pompeii which depicts 2 men playing this game in a tavern and then getting into an argument and being kicked out by the innkeeper.
Right?
Yes.
Nice. I mean, it's sort of fascinating because a lot of like people who design board games, I mean, obviously think really hard about how to make them interesting and playable and engaging and all that kind of thing. And they keep coming up with new board games because there's an industry and people want to make money and stuff. But there are some really classic, sort of very simply designed, like chess and the things that have endured. And you wonder how many of these historical board games would actually have been fun to play.
Yes.
Like, could some of them have just been like, oh, someone's come up with a new board game again? That guy that lives down the road that's always coming up with new ideas for board games.
Yes, I keep buying them in charity shops, and some of them are not, and some of them are. Yes. But what I also love is I love thinking about the kind of family tree of these things, because there's this tabula, which later was called tables in Britain, but it's probably the source of the taffel word, as in Nefertafel.
Yeah.
So it's potentially a descendant of that, and that's all kind of related. There are also other games that are called bear games, where you've got 3 hunters and a bear on a board that has like a pattern on it, and you can move around the lines on the board. And the job is for the 3 hunters to surround the bear and stop it moving, or for the bear to evade that, basically.
Yeah.
And they think maybe it was like if the bear evades them for a certain number of moves, then the bear wins, and otherwise they win, which is similar to, there are Fox and Goose games, sort of old English games, but in Fox and Goose you can capture. And these are all in the ancestry of Taffel as well, that you surround a piece to capture it. And that's what happens in Taffel games. And there's one that's like Fox and Hares, which is also, I've seen it written up as the French military game, where the foxes can only move in one direction across the board, and the hare has to try and get behind them so that it escapes.
Right.
And all these sort of things, they're all obviously related, and picking up different ideas from different cultures as they kind of move around the world.
Yeah. It's so sad that the instruction booklets will have degraded over time. We don't have any way to find out what the rules were.
Yeah.
It's just a board and some pieces now. And it's like when you buy a game in a charity shop, but the instruction booklet isn't with it because someone lost it, right? It's that.
And you just have to make up the... Yeah. They seem to have 9 Men's Morris.
Yeah, I was going to say that the games you were describing sounded a bit like the sort of moving around, because I know there's like an early version of what is sort of Noughts and Crosses that was an ancient Roman game where you've got like a grid with like a square with all the diagonals and the vertical and horizontal, and they all cross in the middle, and you can place up to 3 pieces each and then move them around, I think, and it's sort of a bit Noughts and Crosses-y.
Well, I think that's played as 3 Men's Morris, and then 9 Men's Morris is the same thing on a bigger grid. Yeah. And the Morris comes from a Latin word just meaning playing piece. It's sort of 9 playing pieces. Yeah. But the problem is you can't tell the gameplay from the board, so you don't know if you've got... just because it looks like the right board doesn't mean it. But there's this... Ovid gives a description, but he says there's another game divided into as many parts as there are months in the year. And then he says a table has 3 pieces on either side. Yeah, that's why it's always like that.
God, we should write modern board game instructions this way.
Yes. But a table has 3 pieces on either side, and the winner must get all the pieces into a straight line. So that's this kind of moving around to get in a straight line, or maybe you're placing them into a straight line. I don't know. He recommends women should know how to play it. He says, for love often comes into being during play.
Right.
But I'm confused by the months reference. So I look up, Ovid was born in 43 BCE, and the Julian calendar was proposed in 46 and took effect on the 1st of January 45 by order of Julius Caesar. This is the calendar until we added a few more leap years.
Yeah.
So he was like 2 years later he was born. But that calendar had 12 months, and the Romans had apparently divided the year into 12 since about 700 BCE. So there are 12 months in a year at the time that Ovid is writing. And like the 9 Men's Morris board has 9 sections, and it's got 24 dots, and it's sort of, you could draw it with 16 lines, although the lines between dots, there are loads more than that. I'm just not getting a 12 from it. So maybe it's a different game that he's describing. Yeah. And maybe it's a precursor of Noughts and Crosses as much as anything else. It's really hard to tell kind of what's being talked about. As you say, you need the manual, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, medieval style game instructions, I feel like, is a good gap in the market. For anyone who's listening to this podcast, we're recording this in our Discord, which is for our finite group, which is one of the things that me and Peter do, which means that we have people who are listening live as we're recording this, and one of them's just chipped in to suggest that would make a good quiz round if you had medieval versions of modern board game instructions, kind of written in that style.
You have to try and guess the game.
I don't know whether you'd do as many as there are months in the year, or whether you'd be like, each player rolls as many dice as there are members in Jedward, and you just have to like derive what the game is from there.
And then the other type of games, so there's a game, Par Empire, I think it must be, where you're hiding a number of stones or nuts in your hand. Oh, I didn't make a note of this, but there's apparently children play with walnuts. This is a thing. And there's a Roman proverb which is like, leave your walnuts behind, which means kind of growing up and becoming an adult. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Sort of set aside childish things.
Amazing.
Like walnuts. Anyway, so you're hiding a number of nuts or stones or something in your hand, and the opponent has to guess whether it's an odd or even number. So that's a game.
Right. It's a game, I guess. I don't know if it's fun. It's just impossible.
No, that's right. And then there's another one which is kind of Mercatio, I think, where each player reveals, puts up a number of fingers, calls out like 3 or whatever, and you do it simultaneously, and you have to have guessed the total of all the fingers that are going to be put up by all the players combined. And if you guess it right, you get a point. Or sometimes I think they think maybe you have to guess whether the total is odd or even.
It almost feels like a rock, paper, scissors thing.
Yeah.
You both go at the same time. And
absolutely it is. It's that sort of thing, right? It's going into that sort of territory. Yeah, and this is so popular, so common in ancient Rome. Apparently it was used to settle disputes and things. You would do the thing where you put up some fingers and have to guess. And there's a proverb again that's basically, it translates as, here's a worthy man with whom you can play Mercatio in the dark. Right, so if you can trust somebody,
right,
they'll be honest about how many fingers they've put down. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Chat says the hide the walnuts game sounds like a good opportunity for love to bloom. So,
yep.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I love most about all of this is that we do not know in any way that this dodecahedron is actually a gaming die.
No,
it's
absolutely.
Just complete speculation.
Yeah,
right?
I'm not very convinced by the gaming ideas, but I like games, and so that's where I've gone with it.
Obviously, you would take the opportunity to divert the podcast onto a historical board games chat, which is fine.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's so fun that it could be anything. Could just literally be anything.
Yeah.
And we'll never know. Well, unless someone from the past somehow has survived.
Well, I mean,
in a cryo chamber or something.
History and archaeology are very alive disciplines, so they might dig up a new document that mentions what these things are. It's just so weird that they don't get talked about, or find one in a particular place. Like the thing is, with a lot of ancient stuff, if they don't know, they say, it's probably ritual or religious reasons, which maybe it is. Maybe I don't know, but I read a thing that said, they don't find them in temples. The places that they're finding them are not religious places. So that's your sort of default assumption, I think, often. But you'd like something a little bit more than that. And there's also the thing about, why aren't they everywhere in the empire? Why are they only in this sort of northwestern bit? Which supports your glove people, because it's the sort of climate that you need gloves. But apparently, people have doubts over the gloves.
But it also supports the one travelling dodecahedron seller who's just made it that far. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
They're like, check these out. I made them. Would anyone like one? I guess.
I've got a couple more exciting things that I've learned. One is that the Norton Disney one is currently on display in a museum in Newark, which is not too far from here. But excitingly, in July 2025 until January 2026, it's going to be on display at the Lakeside Art Centre, which is in Nottingham, which is about 10 minutes that way. So I'll be able to go. No, it's not. I could walk there.
Right. Good. Yeah. I heard it's the largest one they've found to date. So
I think the phrase was one of the largest, but there's going to be an exhibition about all the things they found at Norton Disney including the dodecahedron, which is the famous bit. Anyway, I'm dead excited by that. So after recording this and before releasing it, I will have gone to see that, I'm sure. So that's quite exciting.
Yeah.
And the other thing that came up just as I was thinking about this, I sent you a note about a week ago saying, "Oh, I think we'll do this," and then we were watching Andor, the Star Wars series.
I saw it.
Yes.
So this is the new Disney Star Wars on Disney Plus series Andor. There's a guy in it who's like a historian of. Someone in the chat's already got a link to this. He's like a artifacts like curator of a shop that sells like historical artifacts, which I guess in the Star Wars universe was a much smaller trade because it was set a long time ago, as I understand it, in a galaxy far, far away. But like he's got like this whole room full of displayed objects that are all like, oh, no one knows what this was for, and this one's from this ancient culture that had this, and they throw in little bits of that because why not?
And a lot of them are like a bit of samurai armor or a bit of Roman this or that, because why not? You might as well, make use of what you've got. But one of them, but it's massive. It's this huge version.
Yeah, they
of
walked
this.
in. There's one that's like a size of a football, and they just walk into the thing, and it's just there in the corner of the shot. And I'd literally, I nearly fell off my chair. I was like, "Oh my god, this is one of the things. This is the Asian Star Wars." But yeah, no mention of it, no reference.
No,
it
doesn't come up.
It's great.
One thing about that show is that there are loads of really nice geometric patterns on kind of wall designs and window layouts and things like this. I've been noticing that as we watch it. There must be somebody involved with the set decoration who's got a real keen eye for geometry.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of, I guess, like nowadays, it used to be you'd get DVD extras and that was your only source of insider info. Now there is a huge number of YouTube videos of interviews with people who've worked behind the scenes on things. I saw a blog post about this the other day that someone's found loads and loads of these, and it's absolutely fascinating because they put so much thought into a lot of it. I think there was an interview with the set designer from like the set design group of America. Like there's an American organization of set designers who have a YouTube channel where they post things like this. So maybe I'll have to watch the full hour and see if they actually mention this anywhere. But yeah, it's very cool. I love the thought that they put into like what's a mysterious historical object that isn't going to look out of place here, that just it's so good.
Definitely.
But yeah, so there's a dodecahedron. No one knows why there's a dodecahedron. Is essentially
that's my object.
The story here. This is so good. I mean, maths is everywhere. It turns out. Yeah.
Yes.
So, if you would like to find either me or Peter, you can search on the internet for our names, Katie Steckles and Peter Rowlett. We are both reasonably easy to find, and we're on various social media things, including Mastodon and Blue Sky and various other places.
We both blog at a website called aperiodical.com, which is where you can find more episodes of this podcast.
And as I mentioned, we are recording this in the Discord for our Finite Group, which is a collective of interesting maths people. We do regular live streams and we occasionally do fun things like record this podcast. And for the record, someone in the chat did suggest that the reason why the Romans didn't go further was because they didn't like iron brew. So they turned around and came back at that point. It's a reasonable assumption. That makes total sense.
And if all those ways to get in touch are not working for you, you can also email us objects@aperiodical.com. The music is Funk Game Loop by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons. At the Highfields Lake, where the Lakeside Art Gallery is, and I've just been to the opening of the exhibition. I've seen the dodecahedron and a small exhibition of some other items from the site, including stuff they found in the same pit and in some of the digs they've done since then. There were talks by a prof from the Classics and Archaeology department who said it's probably something ritual, and the lead of the society that ran the dig telling the story of how they found it, some of the experience of the worldwide attention it gained and all the media interest and all that sort of thing. I did walk here, excitingly, and I'm now going to walk home.